The million dollar question from the reflections of working with the elite leaders, and most recently seeing a bunch of my friends be recognized for their accomplishments in business over the last week, is the question is this: who's grinding? Who grinds versus who flows and grows? Who grinds versus who flows and grows? And let me share with you, grind has been beautified as this sexy, cool thing. It's kind of like, I grind, I'm a badass. And, let me share with you, the grind is not sexy. The grind is something that will wear you out. It's like willpower. People depend on willpower. Willpower is a muscle. I'm a guy that works out. Muscles get tired. Willpower isn't your most powerful muscle. Your most powerful muscle actually is your heart, because your heart is where everything starts. But that's for another video. What I want to share with you again is my reflections. I've been asked, many of my great friends have been recognized for their 2019 accomplishments, and what do they have in common? What's different? What do they do? And the first thing I want to share with you is that's the wrong question. How did they get there? That's the big one. How did they get there? What are they doing? And I think the number one question that I want to encourage you to ask the elite performers, the high achievers, and I'm not talking about people that achieve and get to a spot, but I'm talking about people that keep a trajectory, that have a flow, that continue to grow. I think it's not easy, but maybe it's simple. I don't know what it is. I mean, you can arrive, but how do you sustain that, and how do you continue to build upon that? The first place that I want to suggest you go to is not how did you do it, it's where did you come from? Where did you come from? Because many times in the human psyche is when we hear what someone did, a large percentage of human beings are going to say, well, I can't do that, or they got a break, the yeah buts. It's human nature. I want you to ask them where they came from, and here's the reason why, is because I want them to be humanized to you. I think it's important to look up to people. I think it's more important to look up to what they've done, because people will fall, people will make mistakes, people will let us down. We're human. But the things they do or the things they have done are the things that we can grab onto. So, but the interesting thing, and I had 119 people in a room in Nashville, some of the most elite performers on the planet in the real estate industry. 119 of the highest performing leaders, individual real estate agents on the planet. Okay. And I'll tell you, there was a common theme for 2 days. They spent more time in sharing where they came from, what they had to overcome to get to where they're at. And where each one of these people is phenomenal. I mean, it blows my mind what they've done and what they continue to do. It was less of this tactical thing. The number one thing that gets in the way for any human being is not the extrinsic things. It's the things that are inside of us. One of my homies just jumped on here. I mean, he's obsessed. This guy's just kicking butt. He's absolutely kicking butt, okay, as a leader. You know what? Sure, he runs a great operation, great tactics, but you know what he's obsessed with? He's obsessed with the experience of people. He's obsessed with his leadership. He's obsessed with the experience that he's creating. He's not obsessed with the CRM. He's not obsessed with the conversion, all those. Those are automatic. Those are expected. What's going to happen if you get stuck down in the logic as a leader? Do you need to have an awareness? Yes. Each one of the leaders that I work with that are friends of mine, listen, they can spit off the numbers. They know what the expectations are. As far as numbers are concerned, empirical data, KPIs, all that stuff. But the ones that stay in that space, they grind and churn and spin and get frustrated. And when they do that, they churn through people. They let go of that single most important thing. The single most important thing. Think about real estate. If you want to grow, you're not in a transaction business. And I'll say it over and over and over again. You're in the human being business. You're in the human resource business. You're in the human development business. And the single most important human being that we must develop to be able to lead other people, to be able to develop other people, is ourself. I have a privilege of working with some just amazing people. I mean, I wake up every day probably stressed out because the level that they operate, okay? The level at what they live and what they strive for. And it's wonderful for me because it creates an accountability. I know for myself to lead and impact other human beings who, by the way, lead companies, lead teams that do massive transactions. My first thing I think about is not how can I learn how to do more transactions? It's how can I live better as a human being? How can I develop better as a human being? How can I understand human behavior at a higher level? Because here's the thing, if you want to grind, you can do transactions. If you want to flow, if you want to grow, if you want to expand your capacity, you expand other human beings who do transactions. You expand other human beings who do transactions. It's it. You know, I look at the conversations in the boardroom that we have. I am in Houston, Texas today, and I am going to be speaking for the #1 market share, I believe, company in Houston, Texas. 1,300 agents, Gary Green, Better Homes and Gardens, amazing group of leaders I've been working with since November. And it will go from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We'll be obsessed with focusing on the human experience. The experience, people are attracted to an experience. You know, if you're getting beat by a model, if you're getting beat by a split, a fee, a profit share, a revenue share, you're falling for the smoke screen. You're falling for the smoke screen because I can get underneath every single organization that's grown and has sustained it. I mean, anyone can have spurts, but I'm talking about sustaining it. There's a community that's being built. And a leader can only do so much. A leader only has, and different people have different levels of capacity of how many people they can manage. But then it comes down to how do you enroll other people into a movement, into contributing to an experience, and being obsessed with what that feels like every day. Because the most important thing for all of us every day when we wake up is how does it feel? And if it doesn't feel good, we don't perform. I mean, you can have grit and grind and willpower to a certain extent, but that willpower muscle will wear out. The thing is our heart creates the experience that's sustainable. Our heart is what will carry us through. Our heart is what will keep us consistent. And that is the #1. When you look at big transactions of big teams, that's sustainable. I mean, I've watched people do this and that, and I know what's going on. It's a logic based, it's a numbers based, it's a grind, it's top down. It's top down, period. Hear me. These people are not obsessed with transactions. These people walking across stage, even the individual agents who have staff around them, they're obsessed with the experience of the people they lead. They're obsessed when they go to bed at night with the opportunities they can create for the families that they lead. That's their obsession, not how many deals I can grind out of my people. They've got framework in place, okay, to drive productivity. And here's the interesting thing. Most of the people that I'm the closest to that I work with, they probably, that are leaders, if you're a leader of a team, you're a leader of a brokerage, the amount of training they do is probably a fraction of what you do. They give people the latitude. They're clear on expectations, but they give people the latitude, okay, to bring their potential forward instead of shutting them down, putting them in a box. See, inspiration is the #1 thing that moves a human being from a thought to an action, not information. But we as leaders, we default to information. So I want to leave you with this because I've got a coaching call. I've got 3 coaching calls here before I get going, and my client's probably watching. But I wanted to share that with you guys. It's not some secret magic pill, but it really is. It's the magic of an experience you create with human beings. How does it feel? And you know the #1 thing they want? And here's the #1 system that you probably don't have and you need to think about is this. Tell me about your ongoing acknowledgement system that continually lets people know that they are a part of the community. How are you continually actually encouraging people to contribute to the community beyond just a real estate transaction? That's how the elite lead. That's how the elite do big numbers. But remember this, it all starts with you as a leader, period. It starts with you as a leader and what you do for yourself physically, what you do for your psychologically, what you do for your heart. All those things, if you're not showing up there, there's no way you can show up at the highest level for the human beings you lead. And I'll tell you this, the people you're attracting to your organization as leader reflect where you're at. If you want to change who you're attracting, don't change your strategies, your tactics, and what you say and do. Change who you are and watch what happens. Have an amazing day. I'm off to some coaching calls and then a full day with some great leaders.